Well, welcome back to the first time ever Joel's Sports Cards Morning Drive Sports Radio Show. I've seen a lot of people's first videos that they post, whether it's a content creator or a podcast. If you go and you listen back, it's always not the level of which that person eventually achieves. And this is that. You are watching an attempt at a new thing, so thank you for that. Instead of tea this morning, in which I drink when I have my sports card ripping videos, you're getting a little coffee. It's 8 a.m. And my hope for this is there is a chance that some of you are getting ready. Maybe you are on your morning drive. Maybe you're getting ready for the work day. Maybe you're just hanging out in bed trying to get up. And I want to be able to provide something else for the channel. At least try. And that would be sports-related conversations. When I see people go live, I love the fact that you can have comments from other people. And when I post a sports cards ripping video, there's no comment interaction live. It happens afterwards, and that's so fun to be able to talk and to be able to share different perspectives. This is something new, and I can imagine the first couple times aren't going to be fully in the comment section. Why would you all know that this is happening when it's never happened before? Got a small YouTube channel myself, so certainly that's not helping the algorithm. And I got to figure out my setup. I got to figure out how to get my voice talking in a louder, more clear way than maybe it will naturally at 8 a.m. But all of that is part of the journey, and all that's what I'm actually looking forward to. So know that in this time, I would love to be able to offer a thought, a topic, and have people comment on it. I can imagine that there might be other topics that people want to throw in the comment section. Great. I'll try to respond to comments as I can. A couple things to go off of just as a foundational start. And what's kind of funny is I'm laying ground rules in a video that most people aren't going to watch. But there will be comments I don't respond to. And it's not trying to censor an opinion or a person, but there is a goal of this channel, right? Family friendly. I think that's always been a key for what I offer is I want kids and youth to be able to watch this and have their parents not feel like they're watching something or part of something that is to the level at which they're not comfortable with, right? So that will always be the case, that if a topic kind of brings into a place that I don't want on the channel because of that, so that all the youth and the kids should be able to fully watch it, I'll be kind of left on the side. And I might just miss it, or I might not be able to offer your perspective. So know that it's not trying to do any of disservice to anyone, but it's just trying to figure out how to do a live broadcast, essentially. It's something that the world's so much more used to now because we have access to it, but it's within the last decade that this platform of I'm talking and someone's typing and we're interacting goes through, right? It's kind of a crazy thing. And as I've watched other people do it, I've been intrigued enough to want to do it myself. So there's that. I'm going to try to do it in the morning. I'm going to see if I can get a normal schedule that would eventually happen. I don't know if that's 8 a.m. Central Time or 7:30 a.m. Central Time. I don't know how long exactly it will go. I don't know exactly how many times a week. It's all just me trying to figure out a new chapter of Joel's Sports Cards. I'll keep the rips going. Certainly, I want to be able to do that. But as we know, product's slow right now. And at the same time, it's sometimes hard to get product. It is not a free thing to offer as content when you're buying product direct, right? This has the ability to be financially sustainable more in a different way. I don't think there is a huge market of this on YouTube already, of kind of a sports talking morning show. So we'll see what happens with it. I'm excited to be able to learn with you all. Thanks for the grace you've always shown the channel. And 5 minutes in, let's get going and talking about the number one topic of the day, which is the all NBA teams, were announced last night. For those of you that don't know, there are 3 NBA teams. First is the best, second is the worst, third is the one with the stolen purse. I don't think that's actually how the kids' rhyme goes, but you get the picture. First is the best, second is second best, and then third would be top 15, kind of the 11, 12, 13, 14, 15th best players of that season. And this is what's always interesting is the conversation of what is the all NBA team? Is it the players that had statistically the best seasons? Is it the players that had the most team success? Is it something different? Is it something that we need to use as an adjective? Who had the most impact, the most impactful? Is it the you can't write the history of this season without these 15 players? Now, what I like to do, and what I even want to pitch as an idea, is that really it needs to be that you can't talk about the season without these 15 players. Because ultimately, when we look at this a year, 2 years, 5 years down the road, no one's is having the stats out when they're talking about this, right? No one's going to say, oh my goodness, Kevin Durant only played blank number of games, and the threshold for who should be eligible for the All-NBA teams is this number of games, right? It's just not how we talk as sports fans. Sports fans like to just reminisce on what they remember. Maya Angelou has a great quote that says, basically, I'm paraphrasing this, but people don't remember what you say, but people remember how you make them feel, is the ethos of that quote. People don't remember Ja Morant's stat line, but people remember how Ja Morant made them feel in 2021. So I'm going to go through and just read the 15 names amidst the 3 tiers and then offer some feedback points. If anyone starts to watch this, which I now see that there's 2 people next to the person logo. It's the 2 people and then it says 2. And there's 1 like. Thank you for whoever's clicked on this and liked this new experiment that I'm offering. So as people hop in here, I'm going to read the 15 players that were put on the All-NBA team last night. The first team, and this is another controversial thing we'll talk about. There's kind of guards, forwards, and centers. Who's eligible for what? That's always a conversation. But I'll just read what their position on the team is listed as and know that there was some multiple positional flexibility that these players had. So the first team guards are the Dallas Mavericks' Luka Doncic and the Phoenix Suns' Devin Booker. First team, and by team I mean team, forwards are, let's be honest, Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and the Boston Celtics, Jason Tatum. And the first team center was Nikola Jokic. All-NBA second team, Memphis Grizzlies, Ja Morant, and Golden State Warriors, Stephen Curry are the 2 guards. The forwards are the Chicago Bulls, DeMar DeRozan, the Brooklyn Nets, Kevin Durant, and the Philadelphia 76ers, Joel Embiid is the second team center. And lastly, the All-NBA third team was the Atlanta Hawks guard, Trae Young, Phoenix Suns, Chris Paul. Those are the 2 third team All-NBA guards. And then the forwards, Toronto Raptors, Pascal Siakam. Maybe the last in the door there for a lot of people's list. The Los Angeles Lakers, LeBron James, and Minnesota Timberwolves, Karl Anthony Towns. Wraps up the third team center and now is eligible for a much higher point salary for his max extension. I'll quick say the last names again because on a podcast or this type of a platform, right, I always have to rewind and try to listen to, wait, what was that? Because it all happened so fast. But Doncic, Booker, Antetokounmpo, Tatum, and Jokic are the first team. Morant, Curry, DeRozan, Durant, Embiid. That one kind of rolled off the tongue. Thanks for ordering it the way you did there, NBA. Those 5 men are the second team. And then Young, Paul, Siakam, James, and Karl Anthony Towns are their NBA team. My first struggle with this is a common one that many people talked about in the lead up of voters discussing their ballots. The fact that Embiid and Jokic are easily considered the top two of the top 5 players. And yet, if you're only having one be center eligible in your own ballot, you're missing one of the top 3 players in the first team All-NBA. Seems like an important thing to be able to offer if you're trying to say you can't write the season of 2021-22 basketball, 2022, thank you for the person that corrected it in my own head. You can't write the season without these guys. You got to have some flexibility there. Now, you could vote for both. It was possible to have Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic on your first team. But many people might not have because of their own voting preference. And so as we see, Jokic, who won the MVP, also was the number 1 first NBA team center. Now, it's not to say that Embiid is completely disrespected in this. He's the second team. But when you look at Devin Booker getting that first team nod over Joel Embiid, something doesn't sit right this doesn't represent the year as best as it could. Now, yes, Devin Booker was the best player, the lead guard, you would argue, even over Chris Paul, the point guard, for the number 1 seed in the West. You still don't have the impact that Joel Embiid has on his team because of the fact that Embiid also navigates a trade mid-season. Embiid also has Ben Simmons start off not on the court. The behind-the-scenes stuff that Embiid navigated, to me, is important because that's a part of the narrative of the NBA. Now, Ben Simmons is a guy that didn't play a minute this entire season, and yet his fingerprints were written and stamped all over this NBA season, right? Now, obviously, you're not going to put Ben Simmons as the All-NBA, whatever position you put Ben Simmons at, because he's kind of an enigma there, right? You have to have some on-the-court impact as well. But you can't write the season of the 2021-2022 NBA season without Ben Simmons. But you also can watch every single game and never see him on the court. So there's this balance, right? And I think you got to understand impact in a positive way, not impact in a negative way, when you're talking about you can't write as the factor for how you view the All-NBA team. So my first beef is that I would personally put Joel Embiid on that first team. Now, how do you do it, right? Because that's always the challenge. You have to then move someone off. We always talk about the top 20 players in the NBA. Well, if you say 50 names, you don't have the top 20, right? You have to actually look and say, what am I going to change if I do this? If I have such a beef with Joel Embiid not being on the first All-NBA team, I got to make a adjustment. So you can't put Embiid at guard. The man does not have guard skills, but you can put him at forward. And you can't knock Giannis Antetokounmpo off of that forward spot. So the guy you're moving is Jason Tatum. So you have 2 options right now, right? You could either say, can I fudge Jason Tatum as a guard? In this world where there's this positional flexibility, could I pivot Jason Tatum off of forward, talk myself into the guard status, and then knock out probably Devin Booker? So you could try in your mind's eye to say Luka, Tatum as the guards, Giannis, Embiid as the forwards, and Nikola Jokic as the center. It's not the move I would make, but it is an option. I would simply remove Jason Tatum to the second team. But that isn't where I stop with my corrections of the first All-NBA team. Because I think there is something to be said that Devin Booker was the best guard on the best team in the West. But Devin Booker didn't have an impact on this season as much as, drumroll please, Ja Morant. Ja Morant needs to be an All-NBA first-team player. Now, I am in the sports cards community. I focus on that primarily on this YouTube channel. And Ja Morant's card was one of the most talked about cards in the game. You know what wasn't? Devin Booker. And that doesn't mean that the card community has the rationale and the protocol to operate how the All NBA team should function. But I think it's something to be said that people were talking more about Ja than they were Devin. You could say, well, that's because Devin Booker really came out of that tier where you were a superstar in 2020, 2021 to the super duper star, right? And so we're a little bit worn out by the new story that is not as new. Ja Morant comes in, he's shinier, he's flashier, there's more going on. And so because of that, there's an interest that's different, right? To say, hey, this is Ja's year from going from superstar to super duper star. So maybe we should talk about him more, right? And then because of that, you get the narrative going. And because of that, then you could argue that he deserves to be on the first All-NBA team. I would say a lot of that's true. A lot of that needs to be factored in because this ultimately is two things. The All-NBA team. Number one, it's about money, and it's about players getting more on their maximum extension dollar point possibility. I would say that is ridiculous that is part of the rationale that players have of what they can achieve monetarily. That is that. So I would move it off of that and say that these voters shouldn't have that much power, right? You have to just imagine the corruptness that can kind of come from that. I'm not saying that you have players paying off voters, but I'm saying you're incentivizing a system that allows for that to potentially happen now or down the road. When you say this person who's doing a job now has that financial burden to navigate within a system of literally millions upon millions of dollars. So all of that, number one, the financial ramifications of the All-NBA team is part of this. But number two, it's more of a talking point for entertainment, right? It's a historical point in your association's history. But really, it's so that when we have people talking this morning, they have something to talk about. And it provides content. It provides a kind of snapshot into the NBA season. So why not do that in a way that's going to be more entertaining? And I can't understand how Ja Morant and Joel Embiid wouldn't be the two guys on that spot. I think the pushback that the league would offer is that I'm describing more of what the All-Star game is, right? That the All-Star game is more fan-influenced, that you get a voice. So, hey, the fans are clearly really connecting with the stories and the seasons of Ja Morant and Joel Embiid. Well, then they get to go and start the All-Star game, right? This is more of a statistical overview. This is more of an impact of X, Y, and Z. Okay, you could say that. Or you could say the All-Star game is the way that fans have this interaction, this entertainment concept midway through the season. And now this is the follow-up, the kind of check-in, the let's circle back on this, right? I just think that's more entertaining. And ultimately, this is the NBA Basketball Association. They should add of entertainment, the NBA because that's what we're here for. And when you're looking at how to make this product succeed in the future more, I don't think it's because you've nailed the statistical elements better than you did previously. I think it's that you nail the entertainment peripherals of this whole association better. So that's what I argue. Take out Devin Booker and Jason Tatum from the first team. Put in Joel Embiid, John Morant. Okay. Well, that means Tatum and Booker need to go down to the second team. Now we've moved up Morant and Curry, so you could just say Booker, Curry, they're the second team guards. DeRozan and Durant are the forwards, and then Tatum is also a forward, and that's where it gets tough, right? Because Embiid was the center, and if you now have DeRozan, Durant, Tatum, you have to have one of those be the center. Now that's going to be kind of challenging. Let's just call a spade, because as much as Durant has played the 5 in an NBA playoff, it's a little bit challenging to argue that, hey, he really could sustain that in the context of a view of his position, right? I think you have to be honest and say he's a forward. So with that, you can either pull up Karl Anthony Towns as the center on the second team or add a new center, somebody that didn't make this list, period. Now, personally, I don't have a problem with Karl Anthony Towns being the next center in the hierarchy of the league after Jokic and after Embiid. So I'm going to argue to pull up Karl Anthony Towns from the third team, and then therefore you need to eliminate one of the forwards of DeRozan, Durant, and Tatum. Now, I think it's pretty clear who that would be, and that's DeMar DeRozan. He had an incredible season in Chicago, the best he's ever had. But when you put it against Durant's and Tatum's and the impact that they had on their teams and the narratives that came from it, it's not close. The DeRozan's part of a team system that was much different than Durant saying, I got you, put this team on my back. And Jason Tatum pulling the Celtics from their early season struggles into not only one of the most iconic defenses that our league has seen since maybe the 2004 Detroit Pistons, but an offense that also flowed extremely well. Morning, nailed it. Good to see you. Thank you for joining this first ever Joel Brand, Joel's Sports Cards, Morning Drives Sports Radio. In all of this, I want to say that you taking out DeRozan is not an insult to him. He should be the third team forward. I don't think he's bigger than that. I think it's a little bit of a, hey, I understand that we want to also accommodate somebody with a newer story, just as I said. But you have to also look that Tatum really did take that same step as Morant of the superstar to super duper star. Now the playoffs, he's had nights where he's inconsistent. That story is yet to be completely finished. He's still in the playoffs. It's one of the most, how to say it about this Celtics Heat series. It's not a good basketball series, and yet it's competitive. It's 2-2, so people think that it is a good series. Yet if you've watched all 4 games, it's not been like, wow, I'm really glad that I saw those plays, right? Because they have been decided so early on that one of the teams, either the Celtics or the Heat, enter in so strong and the other team misses the mark so quickly that it's like, okay, this wasn't a good game, but it's 2-2. And so there's a chance that now the last 3 games are super competitive and fun to watch. And hopefully Jason Tatum is more of the guy that catches the ball with 2 seconds left to go against the Nets in the first series, hits his spin move, hits the X button on Xbox to get right to the hoop, hits the game winner, and is that super duper star that really rallies people to want to watch and care about the NBA more within this next generation of superstars. So I would say my second team is not Ja Morant, replacing him with Devin Booker, Steph Curry, Jason Tatum, Kevin Durant, and Karl Anthony Towns. I think I feel good about that. I know that some in certain pockets of this country would say you're disrespecting this player and they are being underrated. I understand. But when you look at, if you're going to say the top 10 names trying to navigate some level of positional value and position spots for this year, to me, you got to say Luka. You got to say Ja. You got to say Giannis. You got to say Embiid. You got to say Jokic. And then those other 5 names that I just said. And that wraps us up now to the third team. We've pulled up Karl Anthony Towns, and we have DeMar DeRozan that's been pulled down. And other than that, the third team remains of Young, Paul, Siakam, LeBron, and then this empty center spot. Pascal Siakam offers an incredible amount of different things to his Toronto Raptors. Don't hear me that I'm not saying that. But when you look at who's the all-NBA third team forward, LeBron James should be on it. I understand that there's going to be people that say the Lakers' success wasn't good enough. He clearly slowed down. Not enough games, whatever criteria you want to put. LeBron James is still an all-NBA player. And I think you got to just respect that. So now you have 2 players fighting for this last spot. And I would argue 2 others that are not included in the actual list of Jimmy Butler, still active in the NBA playoffs, and Brandon Ingram. New Orleans Pelicans made incredible noise in this Western Conference play-in and playoff round. Now, I'm going to just say that let's keep it to what was here, because pulling up Butler and pulling up Ingram, I think, is a harder case to make than DeMar DeRozan staying up and knocking out Pascal Siakam. So I would say that I'm adding DeMar DeRozan to this third team list when he wasn't initially put there. And then there's the last position of center. You could try to argue Jared Allen, but I would say Rudy Gobert is still an all-NBA center. He very much is not my type of basketball player to watch. I think that maybe we've hit that stale narrative with him. But you have to kind of walk through thorns and thistles to say that Rudy Gobert is a worse center than blank. Specifically Jared Allen. He's the fresh, shinier news story, and also he's not shiny enough. And Rudy Gobert was solid enough. Did the team implode? Yes, they did. Will the team need to ultimately probably have a different look next year? And I would argue, yeah. Because they can't sustain this same level and think you're going to have a different successful outcome, a different result, right? It's going to be needing a change. But I think you can have that. I think the Utah Jazz could switch it up in a lot of different ways. They still have assets that people are going to be interested in. And one of that is Rudy Gobert. And he's a great regular season center. And this right now, currently constructed, is a regular season award. I'm going to argue my last point here, and then we'll sign off. I think that this All-NBA award should be considered after the postseason. And it should include postseason success, results, failures, because it's arbitrary that we've said, no, this is a regular season award. And now all of us have to act like that's what it is. Okay, that's the rules. That's what we've established. We'll go with that. But why couldn't it be also the postseason? Because guess what? That's the thing us fans care the most about. It's where the most entertaining conversations come from, is the postseason. So to completely say, nope, hands off to that, it's meaningless. Doesn't make a ton of sense to me. We have more and more this distinction between the regular season and the playoffs, right? You could say Karl Anthony Towns is a really good regular season player. But in the playoffs, when he's faced a team seven times in a row, he's more easily manipulated. He's more easily stopped. Therefore, maybe he's not as good of a basketball player as we once thought. I think you got to consider that. And I think it's a lot more entertaining to talk about that than just simply, hey, you know what? It was just a regular season award. Let's just talk about that. DeMar DeRozan lit it up, right? He brought the Bulls into a conversation they hadn't been in. Rudy Gobert, incredible center, defensively, rebound, plays his role. It's a lot more fun to say, hey, Bam really had some games in the playoffs where it was really interesting. Should Bam be considered, right? It's not happening if it's just a regular season award. And then also, you get some, hey, the championship team should be clearly represented in this All-NBA team. How would you write the story, the history, the narrative of a season without the championship team? And as it stands right now, there's no Jimmy Butler. There's no Bam Adebayo. There's no Max Strus, Gabe Vincent. There's no Miami Heat basketball player on this list. So if the Heat go on to beat the Celtics and then go on to beat presumed to be the Golden State Warriors, but the Mavericks made it interesting last night. They talked us into it. Can they win 4 in a row? If that happens, if the Heat win and they don't have a single player on this NBA all 3-team list, that's absurd. And so I just think if we were to change that as well, to say it's not just a regular season award, it's actually regular season and postseason, it would hit a spot that is more needed and important than just the regular season. This has been Joel Sports Cards, Morning Drive Sports Radio. Thank you for trying a new thing. Nailed it. Thank you for commenting. I would love for people to continue to comment in this endeavor as I do it more. I promise that I'll get better. It's one of the fun things about doing a YouTube channel. It's the ability to improve, right? It's the ability to say, hey, I'm going to step my game up a little bit on this front, or I'm going to learn how to do this element more. I love it. And so thank you for giving me a new chance to talk more eye to eye, more direct conversation than when I have cards in front of me, and that's the majority part of the screen. This is a little something different. It's meant to be conversational. It's meant to be, you could put this on as you're driving and enjoy content, enjoy something different. Because I know that people listen to sports rip videos as they're driving. I want my public service announcement to officially say that I do not support that. It's too easy to put your eyes on the screen instead of on the road. So this is a safe approach to entertainment for your morning commute, for when you're doing dishes, making breakfast. You can't have your eyes on the screen because you're needing to be focused. That's what this is meant to be. And also you can throw in a comment, interact. You could have maybe more fresh content than the podcast circuit that's going to come out today, and have every expert weigh in on why the All-NBA team list is perfect and I'm the one that's missing it. All of this is just meant to be a chance for us to connect in a community platform together. So thanks for giving us a chance. Look for the live notification to come again on a morning. I'll try to have one more this week and then see what kind of the rhythm of this will be going forward. Again, time might be flexible on when I start. Days I would love to be consistent. And I also want to say that the reality is that some days are easier to talk about. And in July, it's a lot harder to figure out what to talk about when there's not NBA playoffs. There's not the All-NBA list that just came out. Football hasn't started. It's a different conversation, right? But hopefully we can still find some for us to enjoy as a community. Know that my sports card rip videos are not leaving. They'll still come. But I'm trying to sprinkle in a morning drive sports radio show filled with comments, filled with interaction, and see how that works. So until next time, keep listening. On my sports videos, I say keep ripping. Here, I'd love for you to keep listening. And I'll see you then.